Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Miss Sonia, for being here as a part of the Empowered CEO Summit. We are working to help women. We are actually helping women to work smarter and not harder with AI. So I just really want to appreciate you for being here and taking the time out to contribute towards this mission.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So before we dive into the topic, which is about podcast powered profits, which I love the alliteration and the P's
Yeah.
there. uh, how to use advisory intelligence to get more clients. So that's kind of the overall what we're going to talk about today. But I just want to introduce you to those of us in the audience who may not know you as well.
Mhm.
So Miss Sonia is a dynamic and multifaceted professional. As a business growth strategist and keynote speaker, she brings a wealth of experience in helping organizations leverage technology to drive revenue, ding, 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 revenue, and enhance customer experiences. Sonia specializes in guiding companies through digital transformations with a particular focus on artificial intelligence and its practical applications in business. Her
Mhm.
unique approach combines strategic insight with hands-on experience, making her an invaluable asset to organizations seeking to navigate these complex digital landscapes. As a sought-after keynote speaker, Sonia captivates audiences with her engaging presentations on AI, digital transformation, as well as business growth strategies. Her
Mhm.
talks are known to blend cutting edge insights and actionable takeaways. Those definitely, we have to keep marrying those together.
So true, so true.
She empowers her attendees to implement transformational strategies in their organizations. With decades of experience in tech and business sectors, Sonia has established herself as a trusted advisor to Fortune 500 companies and emerging startups alike. Her work has been recognized by industry leaders, and she has been featured in various publications for her innovative approaches to business growth. Lastly, Sonia's approach to success reflects her tech savvy nature, goal oriented approach, and ability to help businesses take bold leaps in order to grow their businesses. Her energetic and approachable style makes complex topics accessible and inspiring for diverse audiences. So, wow, I mean, do you sleep?
Oh my God, who is this person? I'd like to meet her.
Who is that? Wow. I mean, I love, okay, when I first saw your LinkedIn profile, I was like, definitely circled it because I love someone who's very intentional about what they do well. And so
Right.
across your profile, strategy, income, it's like, let's not just do the things. Let's make sure the things we're doing are making us profitable.
Right. That part, that part.
Yeah, so can you just give us a highlight of your journey so far, in terms of where you started in your corporate career, business career to where you are now?
Right. So that throws us back to, oh, I think it was about 2005. And so my background is luxury hotel development, boutique
Ooh.
lifestyle hotels. And one of the things that we did, and I was on the development team. So I worked with, when you say development, that's a big word. So I'm
Hmm.
very versed in everything from project management, construction, branding, sales, marketing, guest experience, everything. If you think of a hotel as a business, it is all encompassing from the
Right.
type, from design to messaging to colors to branding to experiences, all the way through what happens when the guest walks through the front door. And so
Wow.
when you your hotel as a business, then you start, or think of your business as a hotel, you start to see that
Mm.
there's a lot of multifaceted aspects to the experience that ultimately leads to guests checking in, people going to the restaurant, rave reviews. Who doesn't want that for their business? And so
Mhm.
did that for about 16, 17 years. And the only thing about hospitality is I like to say that hospitality is hospitable to everybody except those who work there. It is a
Oh.
industry. So while y'all are partying and eating and having a wonderful time, back
Hmm.
of the house, different story. It's nonstop. It's always go, go, go. And, on the front end, it feels seamless. And, the best of us, we know how to do it well and we can manage basically, we are experts at herding cats. And so during that time, though, I experienced burnout like many of my corporate, people who become speakers and consultants and coaches like myself. At some point, you experience burnout. And, you start
Yeah,
asking your questions, when am I going to build my empire? Because we get very good at building other people's empires,
that
but
part.
when are you going to build your own? And it was around 2016 that I took a bit of a hiatus. I took a year off. If you have the opportunity to take 6 months to a year off, please do it. It will
Mm,
allow you to really decompress and really understand what your unique skills and talents and abilities are.
hmm
And that's where I really, that's where I was able to take some time and understand that I truly enjoyed the sales and marketing side of things. But in my
hmm
mind, it was never sales and marketing. They were never two separate things. It was always one
Yeah.
fluid experience. And so when I came into the speaking consulting world, I was actually quite shocked that it was sales is over here, marketing's over here, and they're two separate things. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's actually one fluid process from the time somebody is looking to stay somewhere at the in the city that your hotel is located, the experience has begun. It's not two
Yes.
things. And so it's just interesting how in the business world, outside of hospitality and entertainment and tourism, it is seen as separate compartments. And it took me,
Completely separate.
yes,
Different departments, different, completely isolated also. So different and
isolated. And
isolated. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's the fight, right? Sales versus marketing. And I've been hearing
Right.
this like ad nauseum. And I've always seen it as one. I've never been fractured or split in that thinking. And especially when I became a consultant and speaker, for me, there was no sales department, marketing department. It was everything I was doing as a whole, and
Right.
recognizing that I'm not a Fortune 500 company, nor am I looking to be one. I'm looking to
hmm
be a lifestyle consultant, lifestyle speaker, where I am able to control my time, my income, my
Yeah.
inflow, my relationships. And so
Yeah.
who told us that we have to build our companies or our businesses like a Fortune 500 company when that's not what you want? That's what you left and it stressed you out.
Right. Why recreate the same scenario that you were burnt out and left from? That is a
Right.
good point. People don't think about that, actually.
No,
Like
we
you left
don't.
it for a reason.
That part. I like to say you may have left corporate, but corporate didn't leave you because
Right.
you came with all those the way things were done there. But when you're especially I consider us to be, if you're a speaker, consultant, coach, you're really a digital entrepreneur. So
Mm,
it's really looking at everything that happens in your business, and it's not departments, it's every process. I really
mm.
call it the flow. How do
Yeah.
you take someone complete stranger, have a conversation with them, turn it into cash flow? But I also look at it as it's more than just conversation to cash flow. It's
Yeah.
actually impact to income. If your issue
Mm,
is that I need to make more income, my question is, what impact are you making? What's the
mm.
impact? Every time you post something, what's the impact? Because if there's
Right.
not impact, income is not going to show up, or it's going to be
Right.
sporadic at best.
Right.
So
Right.
that whole journey led me into this sales and marketing fracturing. And I experienced, like most marketers, because then I had a digital ad agency. And the biggest thing, the biggest challenge I kept coming across was when you ask an entrepreneur, CEO, like who's your target customer? What's your core message? What's the biggest benefits of your product? Like those three simple questions, few could answer with clarity and precision and brevity.
Yeah.
Few could
Brevity.
answer it.
That is
Brevity. Like if it takes you more than a minute to tell me to answer all three of those questions, you probably don't know. And
right.
it's guess or you're going after too many people. And so
Right.
if you can't answer those questions, everything is just let's do whatever. Let's just post out and post any message out there. Let's talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Let's say that we solve all the problems and see what happens. And I'm like,
Right.
no wonder that statistic, to the degree that it's true that, 90% of businesses fail within
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's less than that. I think it's 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's
Especially in
AI.
tech.
With AI also, it's like,
Yes.
is it gonna decrease or is it gonna increase?
I think it's going to decrease. I think failure is going to happen a lot faster because people just don't have the time or the tolerance to
Yeah.
give you that time to figure it out. The days
Right.
of figuring it out over the course of years, that has gotten truncated so much with AI. And it's
Yeah.
not that I look at it as it's just time has sped up. You don't have
Right.
time to recover as fast as you did. Like I can
Hmm.
remember back in like the 90s where people could lose a job and you could find one the next day, even in the early
Yeah.
2000s, like you could recover quickly. And those days, it's not the same. And so
No, no.
so that whole led me into so that whole process from hospitality into having a digital marketing agency and just really finding that I was frustrated that, this idea around, oh, just post content. And but if you're posting content and you're not clear about your message, you're not clear about who your market is, you don't even
Hmm.
know what the biggest benefits of your product is, that is important to them, not what you think it's important to them,
Hmm.
you are going to be spinning your wheels. And I'm the type of person, I don't like spinning wheels. And I also
Hmm.
don't believe in, I would rather post nothing than post a bunch of random,
Noise. Right.
yes, a bunch of noise. So now you're ruining your reputation as a noise maker. Like,
Right. Yeah.
zip it until you know what you're talking about. But at least that's
Take the
the
time to figure it out.
figure it out. And then when you come out of the gate, when you do know what you're doing, you hit hard, and people are like,
Right.
"Oh my God, where'd you come from?" It's like I've been
Exactly.
thinking, I've been strategizing, and so
Mhm.
with the advent of AI, we can now. One of the things I do appreciate about AI is technically it's a research tool. That's what it started
Yeah.
out as.
Hmm.
Strategy, being able to analyze insights. And I make the joke, stop using it to write emails. Oh my gosh. That is this is $1 trillion piece of technology, and you're writing emails. Governments are literally falling over themselves. Corporations are looking at AI to say, how can we stay ahead of the market? And you're writing an
Right.
email. Like, wow.
And diligently writing that email, multiple repetitions, I'm like,
Yes.
whoo.
Yes, like all of that. And so, I say there's usually about two camps in the AI world,
Yeah.
I say the productivity side and the profit side. If you're a
Yeah.
solopreneur or you basically got a small team of like less than four, focus
Right.
on profits. Don't, you can always circle back to productivity, which
Correct.
I like to ask the question, what is productivity exactly?
Correct. Yeah. Is it busyness or are you producing results?
Right. Like, what are
Which
you
goes
doing?
back to profit, right?
Right, exactly. I'm like, if you can't show what the flow of if you can't look at the work that you do, the content that you're posting, and how you move a person from complete stranger to amazing raving fan and loyal customer and client,
Right.
something's off. Like, don't worry about
Right.
AI, figure out your flow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this time I use AI, and if you go to soniadumas.com, I have a really cool what I call a think letter. There's
Mm.
so many directions we can go in with this, but I have something called a think letter. It's called inbox income, and I
Yeah.
posted my AI keynote. And one of the things I say is, there's three levels of precision that you as a CEO, entrepreneur, speaker, consultant need to focus on, and one of it is asking AI better questions about your market. Like that's like 101. What are their desires? What are their fears? What are their motivations? It's not like what keeps them up at night, but really what are
Yeah.
they trying to solve that's important to them? And then once
Mm.
you're able to ask those questions and AI is able to give you some high level answers back, sometimes even some good granular ones, then it's
Hmm.
up to you. And this is where I find a lot of people, they go sideways. They then stop thinking, and AI is going to come up with like content
Oh my
gold.
gosh.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you're the expert. If anything,
Right.
AI can trigger your creativity, trigger your
Correct.
insights. And if
Yeah.
anything, it can help you to be on track. Because I know some of us, it's like we get on camera and we want to say all the things. I'm guilty of that at times.
No, no, no. I should have booked 2 hours actually, is now that I'm thinking, because you have so much insight. I want to go back to what you talked
Yes.
about in terms of the hotel and hospitality,
Yeah.
because sometimes I feel like when you're struggling and maybe when you get to that point of burnout, you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I've wasted so much time. But that was your perfect development and foundation for what you're doing now, because a lot of people don't see the connection between sales and marketing. It is a very divisive part of many small business owners' businesses, and it's at their detriment. And so, because you're so native to, it's like it's together. It's not something that's separate. That was probably the perfect foundation for you.
Yeah.
Um, and as
Little
you're
did I know.
no, exactly.
Little did
And
I
then
know.
I'm thinking of the hotels where they have zero occupancy. So you've done all the things to like build the hotel. It's pretty, it has a nice sign, the colors are there, but you haven't done anything to bring people into the hotel. And so a lot of small business owners, just along the lines of what you're talking about, are focused on the wrong things. So they're focused on making it look nice. They don't know the benefits. They don't know who the customer is. And it's like, you can spend so much time and resources building this structure, whether it's an offer or whatever
Right.
it is, and then you're like, okay, I spent the money and it's here. Where are the sales? It's like it has to blend in together.
Yes, yes, it's all one. It's all one. I look at it as conversation. It's
Yeah.
there's, it really isn't fractured, at least not anymore, especially
Yes.
with technology and how people, and how people flow. And
Yes.
I use that word a lot. Like, think about your own behavior. Like,
Hmm.
in fact, document your own behavior. The minute you think, I want to buy something, go somewhere, experience something, just lightly write down what you're doing. You'll
Hmm.
find that you've gone through an interesting, intricate process that led to a particular vendor or brand or company, and pay attention to
Right.
what you're looking for. I do that a lot with myself.
Hmm.
And I recognize that. So I'm kind of like my own best use case, because as a speaker consultant, my clients are also speakers and consultants. And so I
Right.
pay attention to, there are things that don't capture my eye. Like, I don't pay much attention to ads, because I know,
Hmm.
I'm like, one, I know you're going to try and sell me something. Two, if
Right.
I end up on a sales page, I'm usually out, because I'm like, do I really have time for this? And I'm very cognizant of my time. And I'm
Right.
thinking, I'm not the only person on earth who is also reacting this way. But I said, but
Hmm.
I didn't pay attention to, ooh, I leaned into that. And I'm very curious. Why did I lean in? What was it?
Hmm.
Was it the words? Was it the messaging? Was it
Yeah.
just really just right on time what I needed to hear? How was
Yeah.
it? How am I interacting with this brand? So pay attention to your own digital habits and notice that, and don't just assume. I call it anything that's post 2023. Like,
Hmm.
everything that you've learned about marketing and sales up until 2023, that right now is I would say is really disintegrating right before
Right.
our eyes. Because
Agreed. Hmm.
during that time, I would say the last 23 years, it's been a big game, right? Like,
Hmm.
when anything comes out new, we're really all just gaming the system to see how it works. And we didn't know what platforms anyone would really be on. So it was like, oh, be on all the platforms. And then when
Right.
TikTok came out, it's like, well, there were countless articles. Should we have a TikTok strategy? Like, why would you even have that unless there was some legitimacy to, well, maybe this might become something.
Right.
But like
Yep.
where we're at now, we kind of know who hangs out on Facebook. We kind of know who hangs out on Twitter. We know who's the IG people. We know who the LinkedIn people are. We know who YouTube's pretty much everybody. Like, YouTube
Right.
is, and the video platforms, YouTube and TikTok, they tend to be the majority
Right.
of
Hmm.
where all your audiences are there. But all the other social media channels is very specific. If you're in the B2B zone, you're not
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, something's off. Like, you're missing it, right? So being able to, so the idea of you have to be everywhere, that's not necessary anymore. Like,
Right.
there's a lot
Yes.
of things that used to be necessary. Oh, you got to post a blog every week or multiple times.
Right.
Who's reading that?
Not
Right?
every week.
Not every week, not every day. I'm like, and then things even like newsletters. Like really, like, when's the last time you read through a newsletter of even people you signed up for that you like?
For you want to read the newsletter,
You
but
want well, what's happening? Life
right.
is happening. And
Exactly.
and this is why when we were talking about time, be
Yeah.
very sensitive to, and this is, where AI has sped things up, but you have to pay
Hmm.
attention to time and people and what are they trying to accomplish either in the fastest amount of time. But here's the
Yeah.
thing, everyone thinks everyone wants things super fast. It's not the same
Mm.
one things. They certainly don't want things slow. Like, don't
Right.
take forever to help solve my problems. But the issue isn't fast, the issue is progress.
Yeah.
And so I have conversations with clients who have like 12-month programs. And I said, what can you do to create progress in the first 30 days? Because
Right.
it's the progress that keeps them going. Because if progress doesn't hit until month 6, they're not going to make it.
Right. And the momentum, you're not gonna be able to build that momentum to keep them like energized to do the work.
Not at all. And then doing the work, that's a whole nother thing. And
Right.
so looking at our courses and our communities and our programs and what we offer, even that has to go through an overhaul, and
Yeah.
whether or not I know some people who take their courses, run it through AI to say, how can I make this tighter and create more progress with it? AI can do some analysis, analyzing, to
Yeah.
say, yeah, let's truncate that because
Hmm.
it's progress to solving the problem or getting to the destination. And the
Yeah.
longer the progress takes, you're losing it. And it may, I find I kind of call it like, outdated thinkers or
Hmm.
old school thinking. Like sometimes people sell a course or a program and they're like, well, I sold it. I'm good. Right. They got the support. They got, all the, I'm good. I got my revenue. Off I go. I
Right.
said, here's the problem. If someone does not complete your course and experience the results and the impact that exists in your course, but if they
Hmm.
don't experience it and they stop midway, one, there's things that happens. There's first of all, right, there's the man, I didn't finish that, right? So there's kind of like some self-guilt stuff going on, like, oh,
Right.
I really want to finish it. And we all got the courses we bought that we didn't finish, like
Dusty. Yes.
included. Like I was like, oh, I really want to get around to that. But then the other thing that happens, and for me, it's a detriment, is that if they
Hmm.
don't receive the impact and they're talking with a friend, they're talking with
Mm.
someone, and you come up in the conversation in your course, yeah, it was a cool course, and maybe I started, but I didn't finish it. What
Yeah.
is that person hearing? One, maybe
Exactly.
the
It's
course
not
wasn't
good.
worth finishing. Maybe
Right.
something was wrong with it. Like
Yeah.
they're not hearing the progress and the impact. So now you've also lost a potential customer just because
Right.
the person, they're not going to say, oh, I didn't block the time out in my calendar. They're not going to take much self-responsibility.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, oh, it didn't really work out for me, or oh, I just really didn't have the time. And so
Exactly.
now you're losing potential customers. And so I want
Yeah.
people to complete things. And so
Hmm.
when you said that wonderful intro, it's about progress and actually completing things. And in
Yeah.
the age of AI, I believe that you can go from zero to launch. And I mean, if you're
Hmm.
highly aggressive, 7 days, right? If you need a little bit more time, 2 to 3 weeks. Like being
Hmm.
able to take offers, being able to really zone in on what your market is hungry for and go
Yeah.
zero to launch so much faster, but using what I call advisory intelligence, because there's nothing artificial about it. That's a marketing term to make
Yeah.
it like it's not really real. I'm like, but it's $1 trillion piece of technology that's only being developed even more. So why are we investing in something that's not real?
Real. Right.
Hey, I was like, that don't make sense.
Yeah. Tell us more about that. I love that approach of advisory intelligence.
Yeah, so so when AI came out, I had a lot of different acronyms.
Hmm.
Amplified influence, accelerated income, because I
Oh,
was seeing it for what it was originally created for, which was
yes.
strategy and analyzing and
Mhm.
research. And it was only then when generative AI came out, which is
Right.
interesting. Don't get me wrong, I have all the apps that does generation, but you can
Hmm.
waste your life doing a whole lot of generation except for generating income and
Cash.
profit. Like, great.
Generating content and
Right,
no cash
right.
flow.
Exactly. I've been down that mid-journey rabbit hole. I'm like, and spent my weekend trying to, okay, I love this, but can you just change this one little thing?
Little. Right.
No, we got to change the whole thing.
Yeah.
Been down that, been down that road. But I look at it as advisory intelligence to be able to get the insights about any target market. It
Yeah.
has, at least 23 years of history, plus everything else is being fed.
Right.
So it can get market research on any demographic, any
Yeah.
market you want to go after.
Mhm.
It can even show you how to connect your market to your product to say, hey, I'm selling this product. How would I be able to position it for this market? And that intel can then allow you to know, okay, what do I need to say in my videos? What offers do I
Mm.
need to create or recreate? And
Yeah.
so that is the part of the advisory that don't you wish you had you think about market research teams and the hundreds of thousands of dollars Fortune 500 companies pay
Right.
get that intel. You didn't have access to that. People were telling you, oh, well, go search through social, see what people are saying. And you
Right.
had to do
Or
all
people
this
asking questions.
yeah, and polls and all of that. And you had to do, and most people don't want to do it. But
Yeah.
now you can at least go to AI, you can figure that out in like 10 minutes
Yeah. Yeah.
asking the right strategic questions, and then from there then you create your content, because to
Hmm.
your point, I'm like, look, I have AI apps that can summarize a whole video for me right in like milliseconds. I don't technically have to watch your video. I don't have to
Right.
read your email. AI, oh my, like the email platform I use,
Summarizing.
it summarize and just
Right.
write
Yeah.
that. I don't have to read all the, and what's interesting about AI summarizing. So have you ever been in an email exchange and it's a little heated? It's a little
Mm.
tense, right? You don't have to read and absorb all of that. AI gives a very neutral,
Visual, yeah,
non-emotional, hey, this is what's going on. So you
right.
can remove yourself from the and I noticed that
The
I was like,
emotion.
ooh,
It's
I
like,
said,
oh,
like de-escalating the situation.
exactly. I don't have to get involved on that emotional side of the conversation.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, between the words and the little jabs, okay, what are we trying to do here? Oh, this is what
Exactly.
ultimately needs to
The
happen.
passive aggressive tendencies of terms and
My
but
goodness.
yeah,
Yes,
so
yeah.
now through this conversation, I'm understanding why you're so ahead of the game. So I read something recently. This was only a few weeks ago. It was an Edelman report, and it was talking about just how consumers' behavior is changing. And they're basically saying the funnel is completely broken because the funnel basically gets you from audience to transaction. And kind of going into what you're saying is the new age way where the transaction is actually the first engagement for the consumer. And it's more of a flow. They called it a growth engine. And so it's an interweaving. It's like when someone connects with you the first time, that transaction is where the relationship starts. Because
Mhm.
before they do the transaction, they've done their research. Can I trust you? Do you have that brand visibility? Do you have integrity? And so I'm seeing a lot of marketing towards funnel hacking, and we have all this huge software that's like funnel, 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 get your funnel, funnel, and I'm like, well, is it really about investing in this perfect funnel that doesn't mirror how people are actually engaging with your brand and looking for products?
Mhm.
So what you're saying, it seems like you're ahead of the game in terms of creating that flow.
Yeah, I believe the funnel has been cracked, shattered, broken for a minute now, and but you can't. But here's the thing: it's also that's why I look at AI as anything. There's pre AI, which is
Yeah.
anything since 2023 and older.
Hmm.
2024 going forward to me is a post AI world.
Yeah.
So everything that you were so dependent on and reliant upon and told this works. But here's the thing though, even during the time of post AI, or I mean pre AI, when it was all about the funnels and the blogs and the landing pages, at the end of the day, the people's trust in marketing has gone down, not up.
Correct.
So if
Yeah.
all of that was working like it needed to and hitting home runs
Mm,
like it needed to, wouldn't it be even greater now? But no,
right.
it's not. And so that's a problem. Like, look at your own industry. If people are skeptical, because whenever I'm on calls and I'm like, so tell me about, your sales and marketing, because I know people are still split. I'm like, you can be, and so let's just start this conversation. And it's like, oh my gosh, I get 50 DMs a day from we can help you with your SEO, your PR, your blogs, your content. We'll write it for you. We'll do your posts. We'll do your viral videos. Oh, here's the thing with I just have to insert this with viral videos.
Hmm.
Going viral is probably something that one of the worst things that can happen to you if you don't have your strategy figured out. Because I
So
know
true.
countless people and I have countless conversations with
Yeah.
my video went viral. I'm like, great. What kind of income? What kind of profit? What did that generate for you outside of views?
Exactly. And it could damage your brand because if you have
Yes.
so many people going to a broken landing page, an offer that doesn't exist, then people are feeling lied to. Like,
Right.
why did this
Yeah.
go viral? Like,
Right, and not only, and here's the thing though, it ain't even about broken landing pages and an offer that doesn't exist. It's you don't even have an offer for them. You just had a great message that went viral,
oh,
but
so
you had
this,
no next step for that
no.
flow. You got a
Yeah.
million something views, but no next step for the flow of, okay,
Ooh.
what do you do next? And it was like, I'm like, okay, so going viral means then what did that mean? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
great. That's a pat on the back. Whole bunch of people saw you, but nothing happened. So then momentum immediately stopped after the video.
Right.
The goal? Is that the goal? And
Right.
unless you're in the goal, unless you're in the zone of monetizing your YouTube channel, and that is the strategy, just get a bunch of people watching because you're getting paid by YouTube on the back end
Right.
for ads. That's different. But most
Hmm.
coaches, consultants, and speakers are not doing that strategy.
Yeah.
Some want to, but they're not doing that. They usually want to lead people to some kind of coaching or consulting program.
Hmm.
Well, how are you leading people from that viral views that you just had? What does
Yeah.
that actually look like? So I just had to like do a little like thing about that, because what I'm finding that it's not so much about the numbers, it's
Hmm.
about when you do like why how I look at it as this way. How can you become content where one person, when they look at any of your content, that they feel like they're being seamlessly led, almost like an escalator up to the
Seamless.
next level? And I'm like, in a way that it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found you. And then the next person gets in line, and the next person gets in
Yeah.
line. Instead of seeing the massive hordes, I'm like, if you use the hotel analogy, you can't fit massive hordes in the elevator. Even in the
No.
stairwell, most ain't
Or
climbing
the
the
little
stairs.
spinning thing that people will get stuck.
Yeah, nobody's doing that. And so think about it. It's like, how about you just have content that's so great that hey, someone does want to go into the elevator and go to the pool deck that's
Yeah.
at the rooftop, or that
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
comes in and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this place. Let's stay for dinner. Like instead of trying
Hmm.
to sell the $10,000 a night penthouse, how about you sell the $500 meal ticket?
Right. Right.
And
I
then
love that analogy of the
yeah,
escalator. That makes so much sense because you're not also running up an escalator. It's going slow and steady, but you are rising.
right.
So I
And
think
few of us
people,
want, yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, I think a lot of small business owners are probably in a rush and feeling desperate. And then going back to what you said about the business model, a lot of the clients that I talk to, they have no idea what their business model is. Like, how will you know what the key levers are to focus on if you're not even aware of the business model that you're in? So going back to your analogy, going viral, yes, if you're a YouTuber and you are making money from, YouTube, or if it's like a commission-based affiliate kind of situation, get all the numbers you want. But if you're a small mom and pop store and you literally can only hire people for like a few hours a day, like that energy and interest that, the viral, like there's another thing that you should go viral for to support your business model. But there is a disconnect there. And I'm just wondering, do we also need to just have a whole new way of, from startup 101 to making your first dollar, like the information has
Yes.
to change.
That like quite frankly, that's exactly what I do with my clients. We call them 1 day income intensives because you
Mm,
can figure it out in 1 day. That's the other
wow.
beauty of it, because the tools I love, one of the parts I really do appreciate about technology now is that even the technologists and developers has recognized we can't do complicated. So the technology is actually simpler. It's
Hmm.
easy, right? It's simpler. And the best part is you only need a few tools. Now, you do also have to be aware of what industry are you in, what business are you in. If we're in
Yeah.
the speaker consulting coach zone that I'm in, we
Hmm.
actually have a lot more flexibility as to who our audiences is, what offers we create, and how we create lifestyle. Because the two
Mm,
things that I know my tribe is interested in is it's not just business for the sake of business. We're interested
yeah.
in lifestyle time, and we're
Hmm.
interested in income so we can make an impact and do the things I call it whenever, whatever, whenever. If you
Yeah.
don't have the time or the money to do whatever, whenever, what's going on? Like to me, that's red flags to say,
Sound
okay,
the alarm.
how do we get to that point that you have the
Right.
time and money to do whatever, whenever for your life?
Hmm.
And so being able to recognize that versus if you're in e-commerce, that's
Hmm.
a different beast altogether. If you're in
Yeah.
e-commerce, like visibility but also the brand experience and packaging and the
Right.
storyline, that's a completely different animal. And
Yeah.
so just recognizing the industry that you're in, and I do appreciate that there are nuances that you can
Hmm.
focus on, and there is no more big, one size fits all cookie cutter
Correct.
business model. You really have to create the hyper individualized for your business. And that's requires thinking work. And
Right.
we haven't necessarily been taught how to think for ourselves in that
Right.
level or at that level. And it
Hmm.
usually starts with, so when I do my the 1 day intensives, I say
Hmm.
the first thing we start with is what is your lifestyle about? Oh no, I want to start talking about my offering. No, 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 no.
No, ma'am.
No, 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 ma'am, no, sir. Let's talk about you and your lifestyle, because here's the other thing that their coaches and consultants and speakers that are in, that
Yeah.
the nightmare they found themselves in, they create a
Hmm.
bunch of offers that they sold that is taking basically it's 80 to 90 hours of work of week of work per week.
More
And
than
so
the full-time job.
more than the full-time job, or it's stressing them out. And I say, so
Yeah.
you just created an offer that has you what I call home office prisoners. You are now
Oh,
office. You can't leave. You sold
yeah.
all of the stuff and you sold it for a nice sum that you were on the hook for six
Yeah.
months to a year. And who made that offer? You did.
You
But
did.
technically, not only did you do it,
Right.
technically, everybody else in your industry told you you should do it.
True, true. Yeah.
Everybody else is doing it. I look at it as the everybody who has a $25 book. I'm like, why we all got 25? Do we need 25? I'm like, do we all need that? And I
I love how your mind works. You're like everyone is just out here living life and you're watching from the background. Like, what? You're what was the strategy that got you to make this decision?
Well, it was interesting. I spent a year speaking to the financial industry of, financial advisors and accountants. And I showed a statistic that had me think deeper, and it actually bothered me a lot,
Mm,
especially for CPAs. The amount of work and stress accountants are under. Like
yeah,
not even finance it, like under to get all the forms and fill things out. Like
right.
they're incredible people that, we're also doing a lot of manual work.
Yeah.
And the average CPA, according to this statistic that I was reading, was making about 150, and the owner was making about, after everything was paid, making about 150 a year.
Mm,
50 for all that work and stress. And that
yes,
was the
yeah.
average, right? And of course, there were those
Mm,
who were making way less, and obviously those who are making way more.
yeah.
And the bell curve is this is what the majority are making, somewhere between like 150, 250. And then
Mm,
if you get to sell your practice, you're not getting much.
right.
Um, and so during that time, I started thinking about, well, why is everyone going to conferences, listening to whoever's speaking on stage, and everyone's doing pretty much following the same advice, and
Right.
they listen to their peers more than they listen to outside people. So if you're
Mm,
listening to only your peers and the average of your peers make 150,
yeah.
that tells me you need to be listening to some different people. Like now, if that number, if the majority of your peers were say making like 2 million, hey,
Right. Fine. It's working. Right.
we good. But if the majority, and so I say, once again, look at your industry, find
Yeah.
those numbers. What's the average speaker, consultant, coach making? And then know that the average is because on average, everyone who's doing about the same thing makes about this
Yes.
much.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you then have to have the conversation with yourself. Am I
Hmm.
interested in being average, or I'm interested in having a lifestyle business that supports me, my family, and what I love to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I really love that. And it's just making me think also, some of the audience members are women who are moving from corporate to starting their own business. And a lot
Mhm.
of times that jump looks like consulting, it looks like speaking. They're taking what they did in their 9 to 5, whether it's PR or whatever the subject is, and now looking to do that on their own. But I think what you're saying is kind of like the herd mentality. They're just
Yep.
looking to see what everyone like. If you whatever room you're in now, if someone just starts running, you're going to start running,
Right.
and so instead of taking a time out and thinking, okay, this is actually what I want to accomplish, and then reverse engineering it, you do have people who are making that jump, but they're not hitting those income goals.
Right.
So how, like in terms of your, maybe that's the 1 day intensive, but what's your process? What's your strategy to help someone who's like, I really want to do my own thing?
Sure.
Don't know where to start. I'm seeing my neighbor who did their own thing. They're still struggling. So
Yes, and no, I was reading a fascinating book, and it says, most things in our lives we have community around. Big things that happen in our lives, whether it's graduations and ceremonies, and
right.
even jobs. There's all community, but then all of a sudden you start a business, and well, all the best to you. You off on your own. Good luck figuring that out. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I've
Ouch.
been Right. But I've been entrepreneurial minded since I was a kid. So
Mhm.
I've always been fascinated by just asking questions and then asking, how can I monetize this?
Right.
So my mind's always been there.
Yeah.
But when you're leaving corporate, hence where earlier I said, if you have the chance to take 6 months to a year off, even
Yeah.
3 months, that's the time I found where I was like, what do I know I'm going to go back working, right?
Yeah.
Like I can only be in the calm out with nature and in the refresh zone, which was absolutely needed and amazing to clear my
Yeah.
head, clear my mind,
Right.
and so clear the drama, all that.
Hmm.
And so once I had that calm time and that quiet time, that's when I was like, what did I really enjoy doing? Because I wasn't in that industry for 16 years, just be
Right.
someone. I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved building from the ground up. I loved
Mm.
every part of it. And so I said, what did I really enjoy? And because I took the time to think about it, it was the guest creating guest experiences and then creating the branding and marketing to then drive people to the guest experience.
Got
And
it.
so
Okay.
recognizing I really love that whole process, that's when I dive deeper to say, okay, well, then what's my zone? And
Hmm.
so when you're leaving corporate, it's one to take a moment to not only just look at the job that you're in, but just look at the industry that you're in. And even if you had
Hmm.
multiple roles, it's not about the roles and the titles. Like get rid of that. It's more about
Hmm.
what you're doing and what did you love before it burned you out? What were you
Mm.
truly into? And that may give you some of the hints, right? It's really a creative process to get back to what you truly enjoy doing. And some of you actually may find that you were just doing it just because of the money and you don't like any of it. And you actually want to do something that's 180 degrees in a different direction.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a whole like, oh my gosh, because then you don't feel like you're the expert or I got to go get certified. And so
Yeah.
that's a journey on its own. So there is different paths, recognizing whether you've already been around the environment, but now it's just shifting in a new direction, or you're going in a completely new environment. Because when I
Right.
left hospitality and started speaking to financial advisors and CPAs, they were like, at first people were like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I already did, and I am doing it. And they were like, well, how did you? And I said, well, at the end of the day, in financial advisory, it is also about the guest experience, and it's about
Mm.
creating a sense of security for this guest, but it's with their finances. And so I'm like,
Nice.
I just saw the natural flow. It wasn't just, oh, these industries are set.
Linear.
Like,
Right.
oh, there's underlying foundational I would say concepts that
Hmm.
exist across all industries. And if you understand what's underlying, but what's built up on top, like look, the earth, you go down any block, the earth and concrete is pretty much the same. Pick a building.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
All
built
over
on
the
top,
world.
right, all around the world. Shocking. It's still earth and concrete and rock, right? And some pylons. But at the
Right.
end of the day, though, but then what's built on top, that's where the
Right.
variety kicks in. And
Yeah.
so I like to think about the foundation and say,
Mm.
okay, so look at the foundation of, like I said, what you enjoyed. Look at
Hmm.
the foundational elements, right? Did you really enjoy working with teams? Did you really enjoy working with CEOs? That was the other thing I recognized. It wasn't just that I enjoyed the guest experience, sales, marketing, and branding. I
Hmm.
also, for most of my career, worked with VPs and
Mm.
C-suite, but mainly VP and CEO
Okay.
and occasion and the chief financial officer and then the chief marketing officer.
Hmm.
So from my 20s, I've also only worked with leaders. I didn't really
Got
do
it.
work with directors and managers. And
Hmm.
so I also know that my personality is best set leader to leader. So if
Right.
you're also leaving corporate and you're a CEO and now you're trying to convince a manager director to bring you into a company, are you having
Mm.
the right conversation at the right level? Because
Yeah.
something happens I see with entrepreneurs that I'm like, wait a minute, you're the founder, you're the
Hmm.
CEO, you're a leader, and you're sitting up here talking to the director. Nothing against directors. If that's where you're at, that's where you at.
Right. Yeah.
You're a director, if you're a manager, you're
Mm.
really, and even if you're at the VP level, you're really thinking much just really about protecting your job. But
Correct.
at
Yep.
the C-suite level, you're usually thinking they usually are thinking higher about the company. Yes, they
Visionary.
want to protect their job, but they're also thinking about how does the company move together as a whole. And I
Right.
realized, wow, my audience, yeah, I don't market, I don't not so much even market, I don't promote to managers and directors. My people
Yeah.
are CEOs and leaders because
Decision
that's
makers.
who I am. Yeah,
Mhm.
more so than decision makers, the ones who also have the vision. Because they could
Yeah,
be making decisions that is not aligned with the vision, and then they're going off in a direction
that's
that
true.
needs you to bring them back. Like, oh, who are the stakeholders? And I'm like, I feel not feel that there's something um I think detrimental
Hmm.
to the level, the amount of hoops people have to jump through so that
Correct.
a company can be successful, so that they can retain and even hire more employees or talent, so that they can increase salaries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if and I've seen this, and this was actually something that truly had a deep impact on me. I
Hmm.
saw a CFO make decisions specifically just to protect his career that
Mm.
was detrimental to the company by the tune of tens of millions. And
Ooh.
this went on for a while. And it was,
Wow.
cover up after cover up after cover up. But finally, when it all came out, guess
Mhm.
what? Though? During all that time, there were staff that was being let go, salaries were being cut just to
Wow.
make up the money from
So
some.
stealing, basically, is what.
It wasn't even stealing. It was just
What?
bad decisions that ended up costing way more than expected.
Wow.
And who ended up suffering? Talent,
Yeah.
departments. And it
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, we can't do that. But then once they did, it was just a fascinating situation. And to
Wow.
me, that was one of those situations that happens all the time. Some of you have been
Mm.
a part of it, that
Hmm.
someone above you was making decisions that wiped out your whole department, whether it was the budget or literally.
Hmm.
Now here you are, consultant. You left all of that. You're like, I'm not playing that game. But then you become consultant coach, and you're right
Right.
back in that game, having to
Mm.
now say, who do I have to go through so I can come into this company and help them to create the progress and the impact that my services provide. And so
Yeah.
also then recognize, who are your people really? And
Hmm.
one of the fascinating things I say that exists now, a lot of my clients, they think, well, they come in thinking, oh, I want to go after, corporations that are like 20 million plus, 50 million plus. And I said, okay, I hear that.
Hmm.
Um, Once we dive into what their actual service and product is, I said, we live in a very fascinating time where you no longer have to, I said, well, let me take a step back.
Hmm.
You no longer have to think in terms of the company, think in terms of the individual. So
Hmm.
I said, at the end of the day, who's going to be the fastest person to bring you on board? And who do you actually talk to? And my clients are leaders that talk to leaders. They're CEOs
Yes.
that talk to CEOs. So I said, you go direct to the CEO. I
Hmm.
said, this did not exist the way it does now.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
like you can go direct to the founder, direct to the CEO, direct to the leader, and
Yeah.
develop that one-on-one relationship, because you're not a sales executive, you're a CEO and leader
Um,
too. So you
yeah.
can have an elevated conversation
Hmm.
that's not a sales executive discovery call. You can have
Yeah.
better conversations. And because that CEO is listening and looking
Hmm.
for people to solve very specific problems, you can
Yeah.
be that problem. It's, yeah, I love it. Let me put you in contact with these two people, three people, and off you go to the races.
Right.
Versus you trying to move the old school way bottom up,
Right.
I say go to the top and
Go
let
to
the
the
top
top.
tell the bottom what's going to happen.
That's an amazing, amazing insight. Let me tell you why. I see that all the time. People leaving their 9 to 5. Even if they left at a high level, it's almost like when you leave your 9 to 5, almost feel like you're starting over. Like you have to start over with your due diligence. And so that idea that you're saying, like you are a CEO, okay? You are the founder, the CEO, the chief everything officer. You have to speak leader to leader. And I think a lot of women in particular are not actually taking advantage of that. You're kind of like, oh, who's their marketing person? Or you're not thinking leader to leader. And then you're wondering why you're taking so much time to close the deal and things of that nature. But I love that, kind of like man up. Like you gotta,
Yeah,
you gotta get in there.
got to get in there. And what's
Yeah.
super cool is that, especially when you're starting out as an early consultant, like chances are your ideal company or your ideal clients are very similar to you
Yeah.
in size and what they're trying to do. And so I look at it as start where and there's a lot more women who are coming into the space. So it's no
Yes.
longer this like ivory tower crowd that's in some hidden
Right.
place anymore. It's
Right.
everywhere. Like, the concepts of like B2B versus B2C. And I'm like, that doesn't exist because I'm both. Like if you're selling to
Right.
me,
Yeah.
I'm a business and I'm a
Right.
consumer person.
All the things.
So who are you selling to? And so
Right.
I call it just B to I, business to individual.
Oh, I
And
love that.
especially when my individuals I know are CEOs and founders and entrepreneurs, I was
Yeah.
like, that makes it super clear because yes, they're everywhere, but then I can even
Exactly.
get more granular. And that's why I also look at speakers and consultants. Because
Hmm.
here's how you also have to think. You have to think about it's not enough to think about who your ideal clients are. You also
Hmm.
need to think about who your clients' ideal clients and
Yeah.
customers are. Because if they're bringing you in to get more of their clients, you then
Yeah.
got to understand their world in order to backtrack to make sure that
Correct.
whatever strategy you come in with gets them their clients. And if
Right. Yeah.
there's that in the sales and marketing space, there's that massive disconnect. It's the one
Right.
size fits all, just kind of follow
True.
this generic process. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. Like, so what I like about speakers and consultants is because I do know who their clients are. And I can
Mhm.
know that my strategy can help them to get to their clients, which ends up getting to the income and the profits and all of that.
Right.
But you
Yeah.
got to backtrack from that. And a lot of marketing agencies are like, okay, well, what do you offer and who's your ideal client? Shouldn't you be asking who their ideal client is? Because
Correct.
you may
Exactly.
find if your ideal client is government agencies,
Hmm.
how many of y'all could
Different conversation.
man, way different competition, different zone. You definitely got
Time frame. I mean, language.
language, and trust me, you ain't getting to the CEO of government like
Right.
you ain't just getting to the president. That's a little bit of a different story,
That's a different
right?
story.
So different story. And so knowing who your clients are, because then you may find out certain
Yeah.
clients can't be your clients because of who their clients are, because your
Right.
strategy won't work for that. Like,
Right.
and
But you
quite
have
frankly,
to do your homework.
that's
Yeah.
your homework. And it's not enough to just know what their services and what their offers are and who they want to go after. It's like, or,
Right.
their target market is. And these are, I call it ripple effect questions.
Yeah.
A lot of
Mhm.
times people ask just the first level, but things get
Yeah.
a lot more exponential when you ask the second level and the third level. It's like dropping a boulder in the middle of an ocean. Do you only see
Yeah.
one ripple? No, or in the middle of a lake? It's
Yeah.
multiple ripples, and the further you can go out,
Yeah.
the more refined and precise you can actually be.
Right.
Like,
Right.
oh, I see where this goes.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like a rhythm that you're tapping into.
it's
What
fun.
I mean, I'm gonna definitely have to book one of those 1 day intensives because I just want to keep talking to you. I wanted to ask you for now that we kind of identified, even people that are not transitioning out of corporate to do their own thing, there are a lot of people who want to have a speaker, consultant, trainer as one of their revenue streams. And
Yes.
so, with the idea of podcasting, is
Yes.
that an easy, not easy, but is that a better way to approach building an audience? Like, how do you connect the demographic of speaker coach to the podcasting
Yes.
mechanism, the channel?
Yes. So, in the speaking world, it says if you want more speaking gigs, you need more speaking gigs, right? You got to speak more to get to speak more. It's and before it was all about stages, right? And
Got
so,
it.
I always say, look at the beginning, look at the history of how things started and why people do things a certain way, and then
Mhm.
understand, well, what were they trying to accomplish? Okay,
Yeah.
if I get more speaking gigs, that means I'll get more coaching and consulting clients. I'll get in front of more audiences. I'll sell my book. And that was
Right.
kind of the traditional route. Well, now it's switched to where your audience once again, YouTube didn't exist, but it does now, right? And
Hmm.
so when I look at podcasts, what you call a YouTube channel or a podcast, what I love about podcasts is they're basically virtual stages. And you
True.
can do multiple virtual stages a day, multiple virtual stages a week. You don't have to necessarily get on a plane or go anywhere. And what's interesting is the podcasters who have really honed in on their
Hmm.
content and their audience, it makes it easy for you to, I think there's something like over what is it? There are apps out there that has like over, you can search over 4 million, podcasts, but you don't
Oh,
need to be on 4
wow.
million. You need to just find the ones that your audience continues to show up on and get booked on
Right.
as many of those as possible, but you
Right.
don't get booked to sell and pitch anything. You have to
Right.
you have to show up with, hey, give them some ideas, usually one, right? One or two solid takeaways that they can do something with, because once again, you have to know your audience. Going down
Yeah.
the road, I talk about podcast powered profits. You're like, oh, I'm a new speaker and I want to get on stage. Don't worry about a stage. Start with a podcast, because chances are a meeting planner, an event director hears you on a podcast and love what you said. You're making your way to the stage. You'll get that
Mm,
called unexpected offers.
yeah.
Unexpected offers are 10x, 20x, 30x greater than what you could
Mm,
have ever expected. It's the stuff that money can't pay for, that you're like,
wow.
oh, you only
Where did
speak
it
for
come from?
right. You're just like, because the DM shows up and it's, yeah, let's get on the call. Let's have a conversation. I heard you speak, and off to the
Mm,
races you go. And it's like, and there are
right.
people who are inside organizations trying to climb their way to the stage. And here you got the red carpet treatment all because someone heard you on a
Oh,
podcast. And podcasts are
that's,
evergreen.
yeah.
That's a
Mm,
love. So you can take any, this is like a step, like just Google how to take a YouTube video and have it added to my channel. And you can have that done. So every podcast you speak on, you can have it posted on your channel. You don't have to send
yeah.
it to someone else's channel. So now
Mhm.
when someone goes to your channel, there's a buildup of all the podcasts
Mm,
that you've been on, and they can watch any of them plus your own videos that you have as well. But being very clear about your messaging, that's why I'm like, zip it until you actually know what you're saying.
right.
Be know what you truly want, know the impact you can actually make. Because I believe that we're in this time where it's impact that creates income. And
Yeah.
so it's not so much, oh, well, I need to get content out. Well, all the best with that. You like AI can do that for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and if that like, and then what does that do for you?
Yeah.
Know that you are a speaker consultant coach. You're not in retail. So don't also get caught up with well, they just did, they had a landing page and they did all these Facebook ads. And I'm like, yeah, but they're selling like a pill to lose 50 pounds in like 10 days. So I expect that to go like
Right.
off the charts,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Selling a consulting program that takes brain work
Right.
and right, like it's a
Different
different
beast.
product. How
Yeah.
like stop comparing, it's like I don't like to compare one what I do to what anyone else does, because I
Hmm.
also know my strategy and I also know my long game. And if
Yeah.
you don't know your long game, you are stuck
Mm.
forever in the short game. And the short game,
Ooh.
feast and famine all day
Yeah.
long. And the latest thing, you'll always feel like you're missing out. Fear of missing out is such a stress point. And if you're always in that, well, I feel like I'm going to miss out. I'm
Or in
like,
your
no,
lifespan.
yes, yes, that cortisol drop, stress hormones, those are not good.
Exactly. This has been so amazing. I just realized I could just keep talking to you for hours and hours. I wanted to find out, so specifically, with our speakers, coaches, and consultants, you're now focused on helping them get on podcasts. Are there other things that you are doing in that space? That's the first question. And then for people who are like, I need her time, I need to find her, what is the best way for people to reach you and engage with you and, start working with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So to answer the first part of um working with podcasts. So podcasts I look at as visibility, like
Got it.
right, how do you create visibility? That's only after you are clear about your message, your market, and your offer. Because one of the worst things that can happen is you end up on a podcast, people love you, they come to your site, and it's like, oh, we'll jump on a meeting with me. Some may, most won't. And
Yeah.
so they don't have what I call an easy offer. What can you do
Mhm.
that from the podcast, from the stage, whether it's physical or virtual? What
Yeah.
can you do that from the stage? They're not just downloading something and getting on your newsletter. That's done. Like,
Yeah.
like we talked about earlier, nobody's doing newsletters, no one's reading it, and
Mhm.
you already know. Basically, if your open rate is like less than 20%, nobody's reading.
Right. The
Nobody's
math
reading.
is not adding up.
The math is not adding up, and you're teaching Google and the algorithms, because they pay attention to that
Mm.
too, that your email's not worth reading. So it's going into the special update folder, promotion folder. It's out of sight, out of mind, unless they stumble
Right.
in. And so you're not doing yourselves any favor having, oh, I got a big 50,000 list, but I said less than 20% are opening it. Okay. All the best with that. I know I'm like,
Writing
great.
down tough love approach, which I love. Like I'm gonna just call you out on your on the metrics.
Right, like it needs to be profitable. And I look at profit as your audience feels like, wow, they're getting progress in their life. To me, that's profitable. You're getting
Yeah,
progress. I have created profit in your life and also my life because it's going
right.
to all circle back. So, podcast is great. You got your offer, you know who your market is, you have a solid message. Then
Mhm.
when you go on a podcast, you can speak to your expertise. And when they ask, just like you're asking me right now, where do you
Right.
find me? Go to soniadumas.com and you're going to
Mhm.
find the resources. And I'm not sending you to a landing page. I'm going to allow you to explore where you
Mhm.
want to explore because that people do that naturally. But one
Yeah.
of the things that I teach my clients is to send them to your think letter. Let that because it
Mhm.
can be free or paid. But the whole point is you're capturing an email, you're capturing
Yeah.
contact information. Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, even if your social channels grow, you have no contact information unless you scrape for it. But if you don't
Yeah.
have contact information, to me, the lack of contact information is what stops your cash flow
Yeah.
because the algorithms are only getting more tighter and tighter and tighter to say if so many people click and like and engage and leave comments now, then
Yeah.
maybe we'll show it to 20% and maybe we'll
Right.
show it to 10% of your audience. And that game is getting tighter. Hey, by the way, why don't we just sell you an ad and then we'll show it to everybody?
Right.
Okay.
Like
Right. And money's just going out the door, but how
right.
much is
Right.
coming in? And so I look at
Exactly.
is the income of attention. Yes, there's the income of money, but what's coming into your life? Like
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
fueling you? Because even if you have the most impactful piece of ideas and concepts and strategies, if it is
Mhm.
not fueling you, now you're going to have a burnout that you created. Your corporate job
Mm.
can do it. You create it for yourself, and then
Even
you're stuck in
worse.
the hardest places. Do I go back to a job? Right? Do
Ooh.
I go back to what I left, or do I continue to struggle with where I am? And that
Mhm.
rock in a hard place that some entrepreneurs talk openly about, some don't. But
Mhm.
that place is one of the most, I would say, damaging and
Demoralizing. Yeah.
very demoralizing. And unless you have good people in your life that's
Right.
like, hey, like it doesn't matter what you choose, you have
Yeah.
to feel good about it, even if you have to go back to corporate. I've seen people go back to corporate,
Yeah.
reset, come
Reset.
back, but then
Right.
they're a lot more clear. And
Stronger. Hmm.
sometimes that needs to happen too. So does
Yeah.
that answer questions?
Yes, it does. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if I'm a tech person, but I still love like handwriting notes and
Yes.
everything. So I have about at least 3 or 4 pages here of notes that I can't wait to go through. This has been absolutely amazing, and I just really appreciate you. And I want to thank you for all the information and insights you've shared. So many aha moments across the last hour that I can't wait to review. So I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here and being a part of the summit.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome.